everybody, here on ABC News Live. I'm with Mike Muse of The Mike Muse Show, ABC News contributor. I'm Devin Dwyer. We're getting ready for the second night of this round 2 Democratic presidential primary debate doubleheader. We're taking a closer look right now at the city of Detroit, which, as you have been saying, Mike, is undergoing an unbelievable transformation.
Absolutely.
Right,
lots of industries are moving here, in particular in tech. Devin, I can't believe I was writing around how close Google is. Google has a beautiful space here now. LinkedIn is here. Quicken Loans is here. Quicken Loans is really working on big data, AI initiatives.
Jobs are coming back along with it, retraining folks as well. Some areas outside of town, as we have seen these past couple of days, are still suffering from a lot of blight and from homelessness. But there is one organization here in Detroit which is trying to do something about that by taking a big step with something very tiny. Take a look.
You know, when you're homeless, people don't go to bed and wake up and say, I'm going to be homeless. It just, something happens. You lose your job or whatever. But I was out there doing all the wrong things. I guess we start over, you know. I worked through Cass Community Social Service. I got a job through there. They helped me get a home. See, I'm on the right track now.
We're in the middle of Detroit on part of the Cass Community Social Services campus in the new tiny homes development. We were looking for a way to help poor people, especially formerly homeless people, gain an asset. And for most of us in this country, our house is our bank, right? It's where we store our money. And so it became a natural way for them to gain home ownership. We have 13 completed. 6 will be done on Labor Day weekend, and then we'll start 6 more. Well, it's really for people who have an income already, between $7,000 and $15,000 a year, but don't make enough money to obtain a mortgage. And so it gives them a safety net while they're alive and helps with generational poverty when they die.
Did you want to come in? Oh, go ahead. You all know how happy I was, because this is my first home. I'm 62. I had a birthday last week. Never owned a house, you know, and I love it. This is my little kitchen there. A lot of people come in, like my friend would say, this house too small. Not for me. It's the right size for me. I could bring my kids and grandkids and spend the weekend with them. We could do things together now. I'm so happy. I could call something mine.
Really, really neat to see that. A homeowner at 62, a tiny homes community here in Detroit. Our thanks to Janet Weinstein for bringing us that really special story. For a little bit more on this, I want to bring in now the General Counsel for the National Fair Housing Alliance, Morgan Williams, an organization which has been promoting the use of tiny homes to a certain extent, also lowering the cost of living. Morgan, great to see a lot of voters out there right now really concerned about skyrocketing cost of home ownership, of rent, of the like. Are tiny homes part of the solution?
Tiny homes are one approach to dealing with what is a broad problem that we have in our country that derives from really a growing inequality. And that is not just an inequality broadly, but it is a racial wealth gap that has been growing as a nation. The main way that people build wealth in the U.S. is through home ownership. And this growing wealth gap is directly linked to inequity in home ownership. And so any means that we can approach the housing market to increase access to home ownership and to rental housing that is affordable to people across a broad spectrum will help to address this bigger problem, this bigger racial wealth gap that we see.
And we've seen it replicated in a lot of cities. Washington, D.C. is doing a lot of tiny homes. Are they doing it in New York, Mike?
Not that I'm aware of, but I know the tiny homes are extremely popular. I know my nephew wants one. But imagine the pride I was looking at. This is that gentleman saying he owns a home for the first time.
To see that expression on his face.
And what that means for individuals, and the amount of pride that they carry forward with it. I'm really glad that we had the chance to really highlight this issue because, Devin, as we were saying, downtown Detroit is growing by leaps and bounds. But unfortunately, that economic has not really reached the outer boroughs out of downtown. East side of Detroit is so struggling. The west side of Detroit is so struggling. They haven't been able to participate in this new economy as much as individuals who've actually moved from out of town and have moved from the suburbs to come back into the city. Those in the outer parts of Detroit haven't had the chance to participate in this new economy of it yet. So tiny homes is a really great solution.
One solution, that's actually a solution the Trump administration has been promoting. Ben Carson has been out front saying that tiny homes, prefabricated homes are really a big part of their answer to this housing crisis, housing price crisis. But I want to bring more Morgan back into this. Morgan, what else, you were alluding to it earlier, but what else is needed from policymakers? What else do these Democratic candidates tonight need to talk about and push for when it comes to improving housing access and lowering the price?
Absolutely. When you're talking about the growing racial wealth gap and inequity in housing, it's important to recognize that in the housing markets today, there are policies out there that create real barriers to people in accessing housing. And one of the main tools that we have to challenge those barriers under the Federal Fair Housing Act is what's referred to as disparate impact. And disparate impact is a long-standing civil rights tool that is used to address discriminatory policies that appear neutral on their face, but in effect discriminate against people. And unfortunately, you noted that Carson is a proponent of tiny homes. The U.S. Department of Housing Development is proposing a rule that would destroy this key civil rights tool and is really an aggressive move to undercut the protections that we have today. When you're talking about access to housing, tiny homes are one part of a puzzle, but there's a broader housing market that has real barriers embedded in it. And unfortunately, this HUD is poised to take moves to undercut the tools that we have to dismantle that inequity. There's a lot that divides us in the country, but if there's one value that we can all agree on, it's that everyone should have a fair shot. And most fundamentally, that comes to in regards to creating open housing markets. And this HUD is taking steps to dismantle the tools that we have to do just that.
Morgan Williams, General Counsel for the National Fair Housing Alliance. Thank you for that, sir. Appreciate it. Good to see you. And we are right back where we started, Mike, because we're on the topic of race, racism, discrimination.
Yeah.
Something this administration has been accused of, and a hot topic that's going to come up again tonight.
It is. It's not going anywhere. And I'm glad that America is finally having that uncomfortable discussions. As Americans, we have to become more comfortable in getting into uncomfortability. Race isn't easy to talk about. No one has a magical solution, but we must start the conversation. And far too often, when we begin to talk about race as a country, we always say, well, we're more advanced now. Individuals are more educated, have more opportunities for economic gains, but that just isn't the case.
And we're joined by Aaron Katursky, ABC News radio anchor, political correspondent, and also my good friend. He will be with us tonight for our special coverage here on ABC News Live just a few hours from now. That second Democratic primary presidential debate.